In 2016, I started watching speedruns quite frequently, and eventually decided I wanted to get my very own speedrunning world record. I decided to pick an obscure Nintendo 64 game I used to play as a kid, called Tonic Trouble. My reasoning was that the leaderboard only had 2 runners and was unlikely to be very optimized. This was initially sort of just a meme, so I could tell people I had a speedrunning world record. But this was actually the start of a long and personal journey into speedrunning. I ended up spending hundreds of hours routing, looking for strats, glitch hunting, and speedrunning Tonic Trouble. And a lot has happened regarding the route and the tricks used in the run during the last few years. So today I want to share with you the story of how the Nintendo 64 Tonic Trouble Any percent speedrun has evolved over time. The first person to run Tonic Trouble was called Grunt013, with a time of 2 hours, 18 minutes and 8 seconds in 2014. Unfortunately, no video remains of this run today, but some of Grunt's Twitch VODs do still exist showing the route she was using. She ran the game with its intended route, so let's start by talking about the route you would normally use when playing the game in its intended way. You start by finishing a quick sliding level called Ski Slope. After Ski Slope you can reach the hub area called South Plane, and from there you move on to Doc's Cave to free a character called the Doc. After you free him, the game essentially becomes a fetch quest for the Doc, where you play 6 levels, and in each of them you collect 6 items for the Doc. Once you bring the items back to the Doc, you gain a new ability that allows you to enter the next level. These levels are Vegetable HQ, North Plane, the Canyon, Glacier Cocktail, the Pyramid, and Pressure Cooker. However, the last level, Pressure Cooker, is slightly different from the rest of the levels, since even though the Doc asks you to find 6 piggy banks, you can only find 5 of them, because a magic mushroom appears and steals the last piggy bank. In order to enter the magic mushroom hideout to confront the mushroom, you need 160 antidotes found all over the game, requiring the player to backtrack into the levels. Each level, including the hub world, has 20 antidotes, bringing the total to 180 antidotes. After finding 160 antidotes, you can enter the magic mushroom hideout, play a short slide level, and then fight the mushroom. After fighting the mushroom, you get the 6th piggy bank, and when you bring the last piggy to the Doc, you gain entry to the last level of the game, Grog's Castle. After finishing Grog's Castle, you can enter the last boss fight against Grog and beat the game. Now, going back to Grunt's run, Grunt's run was not very optimized, and she did not have a well-grounded route for how to collect the 160 antidotes needed. It was, however, the first speedrun of the game, and therefore an important first step towards beating the game fast. One noteworthy technique that she discovered was C-tap flying. By tapping Z repeatedly during flight, Ed will hover slowly in the air but keep his height relatively stable. This technique is not particularly fast, but can help you maintain height that normally cannot be maintained during regular flight. It can also help you gain more control during your flight. The next runner to step up to the task was Red Jinjo in 2015. Although he used the same route to progress through the levels, he immediately improved the route drastically by having a fully intended and calculated antidote route, so he could spend the least amount of time possible backtracking for antidotes. This got him a time of 1 hour, 55 minutes and 11 seconds. His run still had some noticeable mistakes, but was a huge improvement to the world record, lowering it by more than 20 minutes. A few noticeable strats that he came up with include jumping past cutscene triggers in Doc's Cave, and how we play the last phase of the final fight against Grub. The intended way is to fly around the level to shoot 4 targets before you can return to the central pillar. Red Jinjo, however, discovered that you could actually shoot all 4 targets while standing on the central pillar before it enters the lava. After that, you just need to fly briefly while the pillar dips under the lava. As you have to do this 3 times, this saves a good amount of time. This is where I enter the story. My name is Osukarui, and all of the world record progression from this point on mentioned in this video is by me, since I've basically been the only runner running any percent since I started. As I mentioned before, this game was my first speedrun, so I was actually quite nervous to start running, and I figured you needed insane amount of practice to do a speedrun. Something I've realized isn't really true, but I practiced quite hard and braced myself for a considerable grind for the world record. So I was actually quite shocked when I got the world record in my first run ever, a time of 1 hour, 52 minutes and 29 seconds. In September 2017. I did another speedrun that same day and got a time of 1 hour 47 minutes and 25 seconds. For these runs I was using a very similar route to Red Jinjo, except for a few antidotes, and I also discovered a little skip in Pyramid that allows you to skip climbing to the top of a structure. After this I was actually quite satisfied. I had gotten my world record by almost 7 minutes and was ready to move on. The story could have ended there, except at one point I decided, just for fun, to watch a speedrun from the PC version of Tonic Trouble by the runner Martin Che. Martin Che used the resolution of the game to change the physics, allowing him to moon jump. This was of course something we could not do on N64, but what intrigued me about his run was the route he used. You see, instead of entering Vegetable HQ after finishing Doc's Cave, he used the moon jump to enter the canyon. The unique thing about canyon is that simply by entering the level and walking off a ledge, the game automatically makes Ed start flying, giving the player the flying ability sooner than intended. Martin Che then proceeded to enter North Plane and Vegetable HQ, but having the flying ability sooner allowed him to collect a lot more antidotes than intended, skipping a lot of backtracking from the end of the run. I knew immediately that this could save a lot of time on the N64 run if we could find it. So, I set out on my first ever glitch hunting expedition to find Early Canyon. I did not manage to find a way to enter Canyon immediately after Doc's Cave, but, however, I did manage to find a way into Canyon early after finishing Vegetable HQ. It turns out that the blowpipe you gain after Vegetable HQ has a pretty glitchy mechanic we call blowpipe walking. Normally Ed will slide down steep slopes, but when Ed has the blowpipe equipped, he can suddenly walk up very steep slopes. And it turns out that with a precise angle, Ed can blowpipe walk his way up to the canyon. This was the first sequence break we had found for the game. At this point, I was in contact with Red Jinjo and we decided to make a Discord server to talk about potential strategies. This Discord server would later become a hub for all Tonic Trouble speedrunning and Tonic Trouble fans. I will link the Discord in the description, so if you have any interest in talking about or running Tonic Trouble, feel free to join at any time. So, if we look at the route at this point, we could now do Canyon before North Plain. North Plain is mostly an auto-scroller, so having the flying ability makes it so you can simply fly through most of the level a lot faster than intended. And you can also collect 4 extra antidotes, making it so you don't have to backtrack quite as much for antidotes. This also means we can skip visiting the dock after the canyon and go directly into North Plain. We then give the dock the items from both levels after finishing North Plain. All of this means that Canyon early saves around 7 or 8 minutes. With my new route and more than 7 minutes of time save, I set out to update the world record. I got a few PBs, and after getting 1 hour 40 minutes and 40 seconds, I knew that a sub 1 hour and 40 minute run would be a good goal. However, at this point, Red Jinjo contacted me and told me about some strange collision he was getting on a door in Grug's castle. I took a look at the door, and after a few minutes of running against the door, mashing the buttons, trying all sorts of things, I clipped through it. This was a pretty big find, since with this we could skip having to go to 6 switches located around Grug's castle, saving around 3 or 4 minutes. This made it so we skipped around 40% of all of the last level. This clip, however, is fairly inconsistent and remains so to this day. So, with this new time save, I set out to update the world record once more, and in April 2018 I got a run that clocked in at 1 hour 36 minutes and 43 seconds. Since I was only aiming for sub 1 hour and 40 minutes, this was a lot better than I had hoped for, and once more I was satisfied and figured that this run would be my last run for the game. However, the game was always in the back of my mind, and every now and then I would think of a new theoretical skip to look for. And even though most of the time I didn't really find what I was looking for, I did however find other stuff, like a better antidote route, a few minor skips here and there, and better movement, which eventually pushed me into updating the world record one more time. So in October 2018, I got a run that was 1 hour, 32 minutes and 11 seconds. Some noteworthy strats that I added into the run include: in Doc's Cave, there's a section where you have to ride a red platform over a lake of lava. Red Jinjo discovered that by hanging off the ledge instead of standing on it on 3 precise locations, you can speed up the platform considerably. In Pyramid, you can skip a lengthy section where you climb up a narrow corridor where boulders roll towards you by clipping through a wall using a water clip. Water clips can be performed on certain walls in the game by using Ed's swimming surfacing animation to clip through a wall. In the final fight against Grug, Ripshark, a PC Tonic Trouble runner, discovered that you can skip having to throw a rock at Grug by aiming your blowpipe at a certain spot during his falling animation. This can be done 3 times during the fight. Even though this run was pretty good compared to the strats it was using, I felt close to the sub 90 minutes at this point, and felt that sub 90 minutes would be a worthy end goal for my speedrunning journey with the game. So I finally decided to pull out the big guns. You see, in the last few months I had found a bunch of strats that I deemed too difficult to pull off in a run. In hindsight, these strats are not at all as difficult as I thought, but at the time I was kind of scared of them. But in order to achieve the sub 90 minute dream, I started adding in new strats, and It's at this point that I believe the speedrun really started to look like a proper speedrun, with a bunch of fancy glitches and speed strats. The new strat arsenary included. Normally, we would play ski slope twice and get all 20 antidotes in the level, but it turns out that with some precise timing you can actually collect 18 antidotes in one ride through the level. So instead of doing the level twice, we could do it once and collect the extra 2 antidotes elsewhere, which still saves time over doing the level twice. In order to talk about Super Ad Skip, we have to talk about Ghost Flight. To activate Ghost Flight, you have to go out of bounds and stop flying. I'm not 100% sure how this works, but I believe that every time Ad stops flying, the game will check for Ad's coordinates to make sure the correct section of the level is loaded. But since Ad is out of bounds, the game gets confused and does not load any collision for any wall, so you can essentially fly through walls like a ghost. This makes it so that if you get out of bounds, start flying, stop flying to activate Ghost Flight and start flying again, no wall collision will be loaded, but conveniently, all the collectibles will still be loaded, so we can simply fly through walls and collect stuff. In North Plane, this can be used to skip a Super Ad section. We can blowpipe walk up a wall to get out of bounds. Then we activate Ghost Flight. Unfortunately, Ghost Flight sometimes has the ghost-like side effect of making Ad invisible, so you essentially have to fly without seeing Ad. Once you have Ghost Flight activated, you can fly into a locked tower that has one propeller. This skips turning into Super Ad and riding a long auto-scroller platform. Ghost Flight is also used in South Plane, just outside of Glacier Cocktail, to grab an extra antidote. By blowpipe walking and getting out of bounds, we can initiate Ghost Flight to reach an antidote below the ice. Normally, this would require the transformation ability to turn into a dinosaur to break the ice, but Ghost Flight lets us collect the antidote early. Ripshark also discovered that by shooting a certain target while standing on a transformation platform makes it so you can immediately turn into a pillar and therefore play 2 cutscenes at the same time, saving a few seconds. In Pyramid, it's possible to skip using the pogo stick in 2 places by CTAT flying over the lava, which gets you 3 quick antidotes. In Vegetable HQ, there is a section in the game where you are required to press a button and hope that a flamethrower will kill all of the enemy carrots as soon as possible. This section is nothing but RNG. So it was a great relief to discover that by hanging off a ledge and climbing back up again, Ad's climbing animation makes it so he can jump slightly higher than he normally would. By doing this, in Vegetable HQ, we can reach the portal that would normally come after the RNG carrots, and collect the spring without having to kill the carrots. In Glacier Cocktail, Red Jinjo discovered that you can blowpipe walk up a wall to skip a very difficult Super Ad section involving flinging rocks towards ice skating ballerinas. Although this doesn't really save any time, it is a lot more consistent than the rock flinging. By water clipping out of bounds in Glacier Cocktail and then swimming under the level to go back in bounds through an ice pillar, you can skip a series of puzzles involving raising the water level. With all these new strats, I was able to get a 1 hour, 28 minutes and 39 second run in December 2018. Having gotten a sub 90 minute run, I was yet again sure that was the end of my journey of Tonic Trouble speedrunning. So I made a commentary over the run to wrap up my N64 Tonic Trouble Any % career. Some time passed, and yet again I found that the game was still in the back of my mind. And as I revisited the game, I always found something new that could be improved upon. I ended up making a list of over 30 strats that could be improved upon. So, again, feeling that the world record was not up to date, I set out to get a PB, just for the sake of having the world record with updated strats, in case someone else would want to run the game. I didn't have a specific goal in mind other than getting a PB. Including some minor movement optimizations, the biggest new time saves were the following. I had previously discovered that you could get 18 antidotes during one run through Ski Slope, but a speedrunner and glitch hunter called Nathan is Bored found out that you could actually collect 19 antidotes during one run of Ski Slope. This route is pretty tight since you have to beat a timer of 1 minute and 35 seconds to get 5 of these antidotes. Within that time span, you have to make 3 very precise maneuvers to get extra antidotes. The first one involves going on top of a ledge, but slowing down to get an antidote below as well. Next, you have to ride up a ramp, but swerve off it to reach another antidote below. And lastly, you have to jump up to a booster section, avoid the booster, and slow down enough to land on another antidote below. Since these tricks involve slowing down, it can be very tricky to slow down enough to get the antidotes, but not so much as to exceed the timer. The Theraminist, an N64 Tonic Trouble 100% runner and world record holder, discovered that you could skip walking a long section in North Plane by C-tap flying into the section and flying to the propeller. A new and faster way was discovered to get out of bounds for the super red skip in North Plane, saving around 8 seconds. In Grog's Castle, it's possible to swoop from one platform to another, skipping a puzzle in the basement, saving around 35 seconds. One day, Banjo-Kazooie speedrunner Duck was playing Tonic Trouble casually on stream, and at one point he accidentally flew through a wall.
Yeah, I'm dead again. Cause this thing is. Wait, I'm in the. I can't see. Okay. Definitely using the platforms.
When I saw this, I immediately got to work to see if this would be consistent. It turns out it was, and we had another ghost flight. We still don't really know what causes this out of bounds to work. We believe, however, that if you go through the whirlwind at a specific angle, the game fails to load the next section of the level. In Pyramid, it's possible to poke its ass through the bars to reach the domino, skipping a small section. Even with all of these new strats, I was still having a hard time matching my PB, and it was only because of the next discovery that I was able to get a PB at all. In Grog's castle there is a door. This door is positioned in the very beginning of the level. For the longest time nobody knew how to open the door, and it was not until we used cheats to get out of bounds and reach behind the door that we unraveled the mystery. What lay behind shocked us all. Behind the door lay a corridor, and the corridor led to a loading zone that took you straight to the final boss of the game. If we found a way to get there, we could essentially skip the last level entirely. At some point earlier I had found a way to get out of bounds by jumping on top of these bars, but it turns out it only worked on emulator, because apparently on emulator it jumps a tiny bit higher. However, one fateful day I discovered that by having the blowpipe out, Ad can partially clip into walls. This is not enough to get through the walls, but it allows him to interact with the polygons that make up the walls. Using this, Ad can step on top of a polygon for a few frames, and before he slides off, you can get just enough height to jump on top of the bars and get out of bounds. After that, with a precise jump, you can fly over to the mystery door and reach the loading zone. This made it so we essentially skipped the last level of the game, so it saved around 4 minutes. Following this discovery in December 2019, I got a PB with a run of 1 hour, 24 minutes and 48 seconds. Even though it is possible to get a sub 80-minute time with this route, I was not going to go for that. And once more I considered this to be the end of my Tonic Trouble speedrunning journey. I had updated the world record with all the latest strats, and I felt satisfied once more. After that, I decided to update the 100% world record. At that time, the Thereminist had not started running, and I wanted to get a sub 2 hour 100% time, as a lot of these strats I've mentioned could also be used in the 100% route. During one of my 100% runs, a strange glitch occurred where I was able to store a health upgrade.
Wait, what? What's going on?
Believing this could be the key to a theorized flight training skip that could potentially save 1 or 2 minutes, I wanted to do some research. In order to prepare for the research, I needed to have 9 thermometers collected, so that the next one would result in a health upgrade. So I went into pressure cooker to collect some thermometers. What I found that day was not the flight training skip I had been looking for. What I found was instead the single biggest time save I have ever found for the game. Remember how in pressure cooker you can only collect 5 out of 6 piggies because the magic mushroom steals the 6th one? After having collected enough thermometers to start researching the glitch, I went out of the level the way I had come, essentially going backwards through the level. To my surprise, on the way back I collected a piggy that I was pretty sure I had already collected earlier. I almost just brushed this off, thinking I had simply missed the piggy when I went in, but decided to collect the rest of the piggies in the level to see if I had gotten one extra. And lo and behold, after collecting the rest of the piggies, I had 6 piggies instead of the normal 5. And it turned out that this was very consistent and actually very easy to perform. If you simply enter the portal fast enough after getting the piggy and mash B to cancel the portal animation, the game registers that you got a piggy and raises your piggy count, but does not register that you already collected that one. So, when you enter the room again, the piggy is still there and you can collect it one more time.
worked. It works on console. Yeah. Any percent just got a whole lot different.
So let's look at our route again. By having 6 piggies at the end of pressure cooker, there's no need to fight the magic mushroom. And if there's no need to fight the magic mushroom, there's also no need to collect 160 antidotes, meaning no antidotes needed to be collected for the whole run. This discovery was big enough that we even created a new category for the leaderboards, a 160 antidote category and the new any percent. I immediately got to running again, not even knowing how much time this would save, and my first run with the new route was 1 hour, 7 minutes and 24 seconds. This was not a great run and showed that the piggy tube saved around 20 minutes. Naturally, the first question on everybody's mind was, is sub 1 hour possible? Unfortunately, it seemed like it was not possible. I eventually got a run that was 1 hour, 4 minutes and 11 seconds. But with my sum of best still more than 1 hour, it seemed the sub 1 hour dream was not attainable. And that's when I finally stopped playing and was able to rest. Except I didn't. There was still one big theoretical time save that we knew about. Remember how we were able to reach the canyon early by using the blowpipe? Well, there was still always the luring theorized possibility of reaching canyon even earlier before getting the blowpipe. If we could enter canyon without the blowpipe, we could skip one trip to the dock and make Vegetable HQ faster by having the flying ability. One day I was messing around the canyon area like I had done 1,000 times before, when Ed suddenly managed to walk along a seam below the canyon entrance for a brief moment. After looking into it, I discovered that by jumping with the analog stick in a neutral position at the right time, and then aiming Ed towards a precise angle in the air, Ed could actually reach the ledge and enter the canyon earlier. Following this discovery, I immediately started looking into whether a certain clip called Edscape was possible. Edscape was named so because of its discoverer, Ed, a very proficient Tonic Trouble PC Special Edition version speedrunner. This was a clip used to get out of bounds in the PC speedruns, but it was something I had never really been able to do on N64. But with this new motivation, me, the Thereminist, and Nathan Esport got together one evening and lapped out the 2 new tricks, Edscape and Earlier Canyon. And we were able to make it work on N64 as well. In order to perform Edscape, you have to clip through a wall and flick the analog stick quickly backwards to land on a ledge below, in order to avoid a softlock. What this trick meant was revolutionary because when you combine Earlier Canyon and Edscape, you get a new skip entirely. After you finish Ski Slope, you can use Edscape to escape the hub area and enter the next section of the game. However, when you get there, the dock isn't loaded because you never rescued him. The only way to load the dock is to finish a level and talk to a character called Susie at the end of the level. And that's where Earlier Canyon plays a role. Earlier Canyon allows you to enter canyon without any upgrades. Inside the canyon you get the flying ability and the stick, allowing you to finish the level and load in the dock. Meaning that you have skipped Doc's Cave, saving around 5 minutes. So if we look at the route at this point, we now play Ski Slope, then we skip Doc's Cave, then we move on to play Canyon, and then we can enter North Plain. It's actually possible to complete all of North Plain without the blowpipe ability, thanks to a glitch allowing you to walk up a steep seam. After North Plain we enter Vegetable HQ, and then we can finally go talk to the doc, giving him all of the items from all 3 levels in one go. With this new skip, we knew that sub 1 hour was possible, so I got to running again. I soon got a 1 hour 2 minutes and 3 second time, but I knew that getting the sub 1 hour run was going to be very difficult. You see, Doc's cave skip is extremely difficult, requiring you to do 2 extremely difficult tricks in a short amount of time. And if I was going to get sub 1 hour, I would need a good run. However, I was blessed with one last discovery when I found out that I didn't really need to finish Pressure Cooker after getting the last piggy. It's a lot faster to simply walk back the way you came, rather than finish all the puzzles in the level. This saves a whopping 2 minutes, and after making this discovery I started doing any percent runs for one last session. One last session to end the journey once and for all. Holy shit! Oh my god! On the 1st of June 2020, I achieved a run with a time of 58 minutes and 49 seconds, and that's where the world record stands at the making of this video. This last run is by no means an optimized run. I'm not really a talented speedrunner. I just happen to be the only one who has been playing these categories in the last 3 years. My biggest dream now is simply to see someone else take this game even further, optimize the movement, master the tricks, find new tricks, and truly give this game the run it deserves. Some people say that having world records in obscure games doesn't really mean anything, and if you're only thinking about it in terms of skill, then yes, maybe it doesn't. But I've come to realize that speedrunning in general, and speedrunning obscure games in particular, is a highly creative process, since they tend to be so unoptimized. You have to create routes, look for strats, glitch hunt, and time things. Obscure games can be like a deserted island, full of wonders and new things waiting to be explored. And when you explore, you never know what might be around the corner. So running an obscure game might not say anything about my skills in speedrunning, but it has taken me on an awesome journey that I'm extremely grateful for. And that means something to me. I also want to mention how incredibly grateful I am for the community that has formed around Tonic Trouble. Thank you all so much. And thank you for watching if you have made it this far. And if anybody watching this video has any questions regarding Tonic Trouble, don't hesitate to comment on the video or join our Discord. For what seems like the 100th time, I have now once more stopped speedrunning Tonic Trouble, believing my current PB is my final run. However, the game always rests in the back of my mind, and every now and then I boot it up to test some new idea I get. Most of the times these ideas don't end up proving useful, but who knows. The next big discovery might be just around the corner.